I'm Melissa Shanahan, and this is the Velocity Work Podcast, episode number 106. This podcast is for attorneys who are running their own firms. We explore tactics, tools, and stories related to pushing past simply lawyering well and into building a successful firm. Working in your firm and working on your business are two very different things. This podcast focuses on the latter. Well, hi guys. Welcome. How you doing? So excited to talk to you today. I am in my new office space, which I've already told you about, but I got the art hung on the walls today, which is super fun. We got 3 canvases of our branding, the circles on our branding. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if you go to velocitywork.com, you will see what I'm talking about. But it's yellow and light gray and some dark gray, but it's outline circles and then solid circles. I love our branding. And so it just makes me so happy to see it on the back walls. Like our logo isn't anywhere in here. It's just the art behind the brand is what's in here. And I so love it. And then on the side wall is what I call my king and queen. It is Notorious B.I.G., who I'm a big fan of jazz and hip hop. And there's an image that you can easily get on the internet of Notorious B.I.G. with like a gold crown, gold chains. But there's also, it's really easy to find RBG with sort of the same getup on. There was a point and there's some art out there about Notorious B.I.G. So I have both on my wall right next to each other. So I have the king and queen is what I call them. Anyway, super fun to have art on the walls. It feels like it's coming into more of our space. We still have a few things to finish up this space, but it is pretty darn cool. Before we dig into the content, I wanted to start by making sure that you knew we are hosting a masterclass. People love our masterclasses. If you haven't been to one, I definitely think you should come to one. If you have been to one, you should definitely come back because we always revamp and find new and better ways to help give you information that's going to be useful. So the next one is coming up. So I think 2 days from when this airs, it's August 19th. It is at 2 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Mountain Time. And you can register for it by going to velocitywork.com and just hit the free masterclass button. There's like 3 different places on the homepage that you can get to it, depending on where you are in the scroll. But if you just go to velocitywork.com, there's a purple button in the upper right-hand corner that says free masterclass. That's where you go to sign up. So make sure you're signed up for that because it's going to be awesome. I mean, I had a good template to go off of because I've done these before, but it's really important to me to update, revamp, make sure the information is really great. And that I have been working on for about a month now, solidly, given it my focus. It's been getting regular airtime on my calendar. So just come. You won't be sorry. If you are someone who wants to feel more organized about how you approach being the owner of your business, how you think, how you operate, how you lead, the decisions that you make, all of it, then I highly recommend that you come because it's very principle-based. There's no blueprint that I can give you or anyone else can give you for that matter that says like, hey, this is what you need to do. No, it's more about this is how you need to think. And if you can learn to think in this way, things will line up well for you. And that is what this class is about. So I definitely recommend that you come to the class. There's no chance that it's a waste of time for you. This stuff is digestible information that you can walk away and implement immediately. So come on over. Let's have fun together. The classes are super fun. If you know me at all, you know it's going to be fun. So come on. Okay, so let's dig into today's content. This week and next week are sort of a duet of episodes. I'm going to talk about this week goals versus rocks and what they are. I have mentioned this on the podcast before, if it feels important for the thing that I'm talking about that day, but I've never actually given you this information in a podcast. And I want to do this, number one, so I have a reference spot to go back. If someone wants to really understand better the difference between goals and rocks, then this is the episode I'll point to. It's so interesting. The people that I meet who are listeners, and they just stay listeners, they don't have goals and they certainly don't have rocks. And I think that you guys are doing yourself a disservice by not actually setting these things for yourself. There's reasons why we don't set these things for ourselves. And I think that this episode we're going to cover today really pairs nicely with episode 96, which is where I talk about what you're aiming for and how to think about what you're aiming for and how to make some decisions about what you're aiming for. I think it goes well with the content that I'm going to give you today, but it's different. So I wanted to make sure to offer you today's content so that you know the difference between a goal and a rock. And if you aren't setting goals and rocks, why is that? Get out of your own way with it. If it's a barrier because you would really like coaching and support, get some coaching and support. Get yourself in a spot where you can set goals and rocks and feel confident about them. But the other thing is, just remember, this is about progress, not perfection. And you will learn as you go. You got to get in the pool. You can't read a book on how to swim. You got to get in the pool and then you can learn how to swim. It's kind of the same thing with this. You can read about how to set a goal on a rock, but the experience of actually setting goals and setting rocks, you learn through your experience of going after it. Would you set it the same way again? Would you probably change something? Would you have shot for something more? Would you have changed the time frame that you said you wanted to do it in? Like, you'll get better. It is a skill that you can develop with setting great goals and setting awesome rocks. And we'll talk about what those are. So listen to this podcast, and I would highly encourage that you think about this for yourself. What are your goals? And what are the rocks that are going to take you there? Now, there are many ways to think about goals. And depending on the organization you engage with, they may have a different way of explaining this, but I have been doing this for so long. And here is the simplest, the most straightforward, and the way to set a goal that will serve you the best and serve your company the best, or whatever it is that you're setting the goal around. A goal always has to have a number attached to it somehow. And it needs to be so clear whether you hit it or not. It needs to be a line in the sand where you know if you crossed it or if you did not cross it. There's no room for interpretation if you hit a goal or not. That's how clear it needs to be. So attaching a number to it will remove any interpretation. You either hit it or you do not, right? The other beautiful thing about having a number to it is that it allows you to measure your progress as you go, and tracking things over time and being able to see your progress, or where things are stalling out. Being able to see and measure your progress is so helpful along the way, because it can help you identify where maybe something isn't going the way it needs to be going. You know, it's just an indicator. So KPIs, right? Key performance indicators. So if you have these indicators to look at all along the way, it helps you know if you're going to hit the goal or not. So goals just need to have numbers around them. Okay, so you with me? A goal is a target. Very, very, very specific target. It has a number. It's black and white. You know if you hit it. You know if you didn't. Okay, I'm going to explain rocks. Make sure you guys are really clear on rocks. But then I'm going to come back to goals just to make sure we're all on the same page about how you need to think about the target. So, okay, we have goals. You know what a goal is. A rock is the effort that you're going to put forth that will take you to the goal. It is the lever that you're going to pull in order to get yourself to the target. So another way to think about this is projects that need to be done in order to see yourself all the way through to the goal. So if, for example, if you have a revenue number as a goal, you have to think about, how am I going to hit that goal? What needs to happen so that the revenue can be generated that's going to take me to the goal? And so maybe you need to increase your capacity inside the firm to be able to handle more business. Maybe you need to streamline some processes so that things run more efficiently. You know, there's different things that will come to mind, and these are so unique to each firm. Rocks are very unique to you and your specific set of circumstances and your current reality. It's almost like you have your current reality and you have where you want to be, and you have to figure out how to bridge that gap. That's where rocks come into play. Rocks are the things, the effort, the action that's going to bridge the gap between where you are now and where you want to be. It's the work involved. So I thought I would share some examples of clients and master group members. For private clients, I can share, I'll keep it anonymous, but I'll share what types of goals they have set and then what rocks they have decided need to happen in order for those goals to be hit. So I'm going to start with private clients and then we'll move to master group members, and that'll be a little bit different. So I have 2 private clients pulled up that I thought I would share. The first one, they have 3 goals that they are shooting for. One is a revenue goal, one is a number of cases closed goal, and one is a number of cases open goal. So they have 3 numbers that are stretches for them, but they can totally see their way to it. It's like, okay, we've got this. We can do it. It's going to be a stretch and it's going to be amazing if we hit it. Here are the things this quarter I think we need to focus on and we need to complete and get done and in order to be on track for hitting those numbers. So the first rock that they had said was hire and uptrain a new attorney. The second one, every team member fully executing their role in the accountability chart. Number 3, create a system for managing pods, which is a new thing that they're doing inside of their firm. Number 4, create a task flow for each phase of the cases that they handle. And then the 5th one is to reduce or eliminate complaining inside the firm. Now, to some of you, you may be like, what? How did they come up with some of those? Like, that's what they came up with in order to stay on track for their goals. But you have to remember, I'm in a room for 1, sometimes 2 days with these people and thinking through what are the barriers they're currently experiencing. Once they set their goals, we ask them, okay, what barriers do you foresee getting in the way between where you are now and where you want to be with the revenue number or whatever they're shooting for? And so things will come up. And a lot of times as firms grow, it's around team and culture and making sure training is dialed in, that there's consistency across the board, that we don't have anyone who's toxic inside the organization. Like, that matters immensely as you grow. And so that's where this team is. And actually, the next one I'm going to share with you is similar. So hire and uptrain attorney. Okay, that's around team and creating capacity within the firm. Every team member fully executing their role in the accountability chart. Accountability charts, I have done podcasts on before inside of Master Group. We have focused on it for workshops, and with private clients, it's a part of every retreat we lead, and we revisit theirs specifically. But accountability charts, it's basically immense clarity about who is responsible for what inside the firm. And as you grow, that chart will grow and change and shift as well. And so having every team member at this stage in the game really fully executing their role on the accountability chart, because there's been changes and they need to get people up to speed. They need to get people trained up to be able to do all the responsibilities that are listed for that team member. So that was a big deal, is making sure everybody is fully executing their role on the accountability chart with no help. Like, training is done, they've got it. The next one was a system for managing pods. So this is a new system that they need within their firm in order to make sure everything's dialed in and working well. Task flow created for each phase. That's something that's going to happen within their software, which is Filevine. And then reduce and eliminate complaining. This is the one maybe there's more eyebrows out there kind of being raised, like, or heads being cocked to the side. But here's the deal. They have been having some issues with this, and they knew, all of them agreed in the meeting, that it needs to be nipped. Like, this does not get to happen anymore. It soaks up time. It influences other team members. It's a very unfocused, indulgent experience for the team member, which takes away from the work, takes away from their role and what they're supposed to be doing. And so that needed to be nipped. One of the owners is taking this on, and he's going to roll out, like, these are the expectations, so et cetera, et cetera. But these are the things that they have said, these are important enough to be the focus this quarter so that we can be on track for the numbers that we want to hit. And if we don't address these things, we likely won't hit those numbers, period. And so that is how they came up with these rocks. The other thing I'll say here is, you guys have probably heard of the metaphor with rocks, pebbles, sand. And if you have sand and you have pebbles and you have rocks, and you put the sand in first, and the sand represents all of the busy work, the distractions, the work that's not important and not urgent either, but it's work, right? And then there's work that's urgent, but not really important, those might be the pebbles. And then the rocks are the important things. And oftentimes, if we aren't very intentional with where our focus goes, we end up filling our capacity. So if we have a jar, we fill it with sand first and pebbles, and then there's not room for the rocks, which those are the important things. But it's just where we gave our time and focus and attention. This is how it shook out. But if you were very intentional and say that I'm going to put the rocks in first, then I'm going to put the pebbles, then I'm going to put the sand, then you have room to spare in the jar. It's all fits. It all gets in there. And so rocks, it's essentially a way to say, these are the most important things. These get my focus first. These don't get pushed out by the busyness of work. No, these win. These trump everything. And so by saying these are the most important things and you're declaring them as rocks, then it becomes like, okay, this isn't compromise. We're going to focus on this. Everything else will fill in around it for sure. It's going to get done, right? So that's the whole thing about rocks. And actually, so this came from Rockefeller Habits, and then also Vern Harnish, who is the founder of Scaling Up and Gazelles. And then he influenced heavily Gino Wickman, who created EOS. And so he uses the term rocks. So the rocks you hear out there in the business consulting and coaching world, and it just signifies these are the important projects, important efforts, important actions, important things that need to happen if we want to see through to our goals. So that's one client that I gave you. The next client, they have a revenue goal, they have a number of cases opened goal, and they have a number of Google reviews goal. And their rocks in this quarter, number one was to create and implement a continuous training system for each department. And this is another firm, they're getting big enough where team members have got to have a way to be able to keep developing themselves and training. And so they're developing that within the firm, a continuous training system for each department. And then there's another one, create and execute a marketing plan for specific divisions, host 3 in-person events. The next one is to conduct an efficiency review for every department, make recommendations for improvement, and implement recommendations. And then the last one is to present an information relay workshop, which means something very specific to them. But same thing, we're in a room. We get to discuss all this and we get to say, okay, these are your goals. What do you see in the way between where you are now and where you want to get? They'll start to talk about some of the barriers. And it's like, okay, what can we do to prevent that from being a barrier? If that is a barrier between now and where you want to go, what are you going to do to dissolve that barrier to the best of your ability? And so these are the kinds of things they come up with. So I hope this is helpful. And this is what I mean when I say it's so unique to the firm and your specific circumstances and your current reality and the bridge you need to build. It is not the same from one firm to the next. So goals is much easier to facilitate than rocks, because rocks are very individualized, and facilitation is immensely helpful for anyone who's trying to set rocks. Even myself, I'm used to teaching this, but I'm telling you, facilitation is so helpful to get out of your own way and have someone else be pulling information out of your brain to be able to piece together something that's high quality and you know that it's worth executing on. Okay, so those are some examples of goals and rocks. And then I thought I would share in Mastery Group, they also submit their rocks to us, and we have some accountability. Every month there's a call and they have to say, what's the status of it? Is it not started? Is it in progress? Or is it done? And then they also state, is it on track or off track? And so this is a way for everybody to stay clued in, and they have a lot of work to do between these monthly calls, and they can report on their progress. One example is to systematize content creation process. Another one, create a KPI tracking dashboard. Awesome. Another one, document system for lead management, and then in parentheses, converting the lead to a client, which is awesome. There's a bunch in here about document system for new DUI client, document system for new traffic client, create a DUI white paper. You can tell the practice area there. Develop client welcome package, complete and ready to send. Create child support calculator for website based on new guidelines. create child support specific marketing content series. So you could see where it's like, okay, these people set goals and now these are the things they have got to do, or else they're going to hold themselves back from being able to experience some momentum towards their goals. Another one, hire a paralegal, hire an associate attorney, PNC follow-up system and internal process followed 100% of the time. I love that. Develop system for billing and invoicing consistently every month and after every closed matter. Create a fee schedule. Create a client satisfaction communication system or workflow. Increase flat fees on estate planning cases based on time tracking. Complete and launch webinar presentation. Develop new financial tool to forecast profits and the inputs they require. Deploy a new security systems to increase IT and personal security. Create a firm growth roadmap for staffing. So I think you guys get the gist here. I mean, there's probably close to 100 in front of me, so I'm just trying to pick through some. Book 10 lunch meetings with referral sources. Another one, set up net promoter score tracker and review generation system. Complete 13 networking meetings, coffees, or lunches. So similar, you heard another one just like that a little bit just a minute ago. Build estate planning workflow in Smokeball. Implement probate as a practice area and engage 5 probate clients. And so in this one, like if I was giving some feedback real time to this person, I probably would have just said engage 5 probate clients because it would have force functioned that they would have implemented probate. But this is great. It's very specific and it's something that this is going to move the needle for them. This is going to be helpful. So I could keep going, but I think you guys get the gist. But here's what I'll say. All of these things, the main question you want to ask, and the thing I try to emphasize when I'm facilitating, whether it's a group or whether it's an individual or a private client, is that you are saying, these are the things that if I don't do them, it will hold me back. And that's how it can be really helpful to think of it. Because there's, at any given point, all of us have these things that we really want done, that we think would be a fantastic idea for our businesses, for your firm. But every quarter, you only have so much bandwidth, and you have to be very realistic and very pointed about your effort that you're going to give to help yourself grow in all the right ways, in the ways that you want to see the growth. And you have to narrow down. And I've given some examples today of people who have chosen things that are essentially them saying, if I don't do these things, it will hold me back. And all the other important things, I can consider those for the next quarter's rocks, but it's not right now. These are for right now. These are top priority. This is what I'm focusing on. Now, I'm going to get busy, put my head down, go and execute in the quarter, get these things done. And at the turn of the quarter, this is where I facilitate people. This is the time at the turn of the quarter. The next quarter is to lift your head and evaluate, where did you land? You could look at the numbers along the way, but you should not change your course of action. It's very rare that you should ever change your course of action or your plan in the middle of a quarter. You wait till the end of the quarter, you evaluate, and you make adjustments as necessary for the next quarter. And then you put your head down and you really just go. There are some exceptions to this. If you are just lifting your firm off of the ground, a quarter is a little long when you are establishing a business. But if you have a business, you have an established business, if you made $100K or more in your business, you should not be picking your head up between the turn of the quarter when you're actually making your plan. You should finish what you said you were going to do. And that is the thing about these rocks, is you are committing to doing these things, period. You go get them done. And then at the turn of the quarter, you can evaluate, where did that get you? Where are you now in terms of the numbers towards your goal? And do we need to make adjustments to the goal? Are we still good? Are we going to hold what we said for, the further out goal, and then decide what rocks are next? And then you put your head down again and you go again. So I hope this is making sense and coming to fruition. And I think that you can probably understand, listening to this, why it's so helpful to have facilitation around setting goals and rocks. It just helps provide that extra bit of confidence that, like, okay, yeah, this all lines up. This is exactly what it needs to be, to the best of my ability, with the visibility that I have, with the knowledge that I have. This is an educated guess that I'm making. This is where I'm going to put my focus, attention, and effort. in order to get to where we really want to go, in order to get to the number, in order to get to the goal. So I hope this is helpful. Now, one more thing. We're going to circle back to how to think about goals and rocks, right? You've set your goals. You've determined what your rocks are going to be, the focus that's going to help you get to your goal. I want you to remember, it's not about hitting the goal right on the money. Most of the time, that won't happen. Sometimes it will, but most of the time, you'll either fall short or you'll blow it out of the water. And no matter which way it goes, there are lessons to be learned. So your job is to extract the lessons, use that as data, as information, so that you can make a better call next time, or a more accurate call, or a more educated call next time. It is not about hitting it or not hitting it. If you don't hit it, it doesn't mean failure. The truth is that if you're approaching this correctly, whatever goal you set, you are committed to that goal no matter what. And if you were wrong about the time frame, if you really did, you made a really good plan to get to the goal, you executed on your plan, you gave it your best shot, you left it all on the field, so to speak, and you felt you came up short, no big deal. You just haven't got there yet. Maybe you were wrong about the time frame. So keep going, right? So it doesn't mean that you failed. The only way you can fail is if you quit. If you stop working towards it, that's failure. Other than that, it's just all a part of the journey. So don't get mixed up when it's like, well, I didn't hit my goals, and kind of throw your hands in the air because you didn't hit them in the quarter that you thought you were going to hit them. No. That is not what this is about. That's a super unhealthy way to set it, and it won't get you where you want to go. So you just have to remain committed. Give it your best shot. But if you fall short, no big deal. You're just going to keep going until you hit the goal, period. So I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page with that this is not about a pass-fail kind of thing. Literally, the only way you can fail is if you quit. So just make sure that when you think about your goals and you think about the rocks, you aren't attached to making your self-worth or the worth of your team around if you hit it or not. The worth comes from, am I giving it my all? Am I executing on my plan? Am I proud of the way I showed up? And then if you are and you still fell short, all right, process some lessons and then get back in the game, friends. This is what it's about. And I think that helps us have more fun with it instead of being so attached to the outcome of like perfectly hitting it, or it just doesn't make any sense. We set goals to expand ourselves, to grow, to see what we're made of, and to really fulfill potential, right? And staying committed to that no matter what helps us stay in the game and not burn out because we're making it mean something that we didn't hit it in this time frame that we had said. So it's really important that you understand that how you think about your goals, the level of attachment that you put on this perfection within the time frame, and you must hit the number, like that has got to go out the window. You set a goal, you go for it, you give it your all, and when the time is up, if you set for a quarter, you set it for a quarter. The time frame's up, you lift your head, you measure how far you've come, you evaluate your progress, you process lessons so that you can carry those lessons forward, and you just get going again. It's going to be so fun when you hit the goal. So fun. It's not always going to happen perfectly. And most of the time it won't. It's not the point. All right, everybody. Goals and rocks. I hope this helped clear up what the difference is between the two, helps you get some information so that you can start to think about how you want to apply this to your own set of circumstances and be able to set strong goals and strong rocks that will help take you to the goals. Next week, we're going to talk about leading versus lagging indicators, because it is a term that's thrown around quite a bit with strategic planning and KPI tracking and things like that. So I'm just going to give you a rundown on how I think about it in a really healthy way that I explain it to my clients. And it's deeper. It's a level deeper. And so it's a little more complex. Sometimes it's hard for people to wrap their heads around, but that's where we're going to go next because it goes so well hand in hand with what we talked about today with goals and rocks. All right, everybody, have a beautiful week. I'll see you here next Tuesday. Hey there, if you enjoyed this podcast, I highly recommend you come and check out Mastery Group. It is where owner attorneys come together to study this material, apply it, and thus create really big results for their firm and for their life. So come on over, velocitywork.com/join to get more information and get started. Show notes from this episode can be found at velocitywork.com/podcast.